Hello, everybody. Drew here for Drew That Underground. Back. Well, I can't really say back because we really haven't done a movie review like ever, right?
Yeah, that's not really something we do that often.
We I've done by myself in the past game reviews on the other channel, Drew That Games, called
Yeah.
"Is It Worth It?" But I've never done it. Is it worth it here on the Underground channel?
Yeah.
Much less actually tried to review a movie. Which reminds me, I should turn my camera on. Here we go. So, as you guys see by the thumbnail, we're here to talk about Epic Elvis Presley in Concert, which came out on the 28th.
Yeah, it had broad release on the 22nd or 27th. There was a whole bunch of we saw it on the 28th, but it came out on the 27th, Friday there, to broad release. It had been an IMAX and an earlier release for about a week prior to that, but in regular theaters, it came out on the 27th.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Nord and I went to go see it with our mom and his girlfriend and whatnot, and
Yep.
we had a really good time. It was what I imagine going to an Elvis Presley concert would feel like.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean that if we could just like call it like really even better than that, because it it's not just like an experience of just the music or just the man. It's like the
It
music,
was
the man, the backstory, the setup, everything.
and it was his thoughts and him narrating
Yeah,
all
all told, the whole thing basically told from
Elvis's
him
point of view.
himself,
Yeah,
you know. And
and and there was one moment in the movie where he was asked about political bullshit, much like Tom Cruise has been, and he gave a similar answer, except for I think Elvis gave a better answer. I cannot answer about politics, and no, I cannot and will not give an opinion on if another celebrity or star should or could talk about politics themselves. That's their decision to make. I have
mhm.
no opinion, nor should I have any opinion on what they say about anything, and I would rather just do my music and entertain you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, to say that the man was rare, obviously every single human being who knows who he is knows the man was rare
Yeah.
in
And,
in a million regards. Um Everything from, his upbringing, his initial early 1950s impact, um the absolute craze of 55 through 59 with him,
yeah.
and having basically his own version of Beatlemania for himself,
Hmm.
um, where he was just so beloved by millions upon millions. In fact, he dominated the late 1950s music chart with dozens and dozens of songs, and
Hmm.
then he ended up doing a bunch of movies with Hollywood starlets and getting his feet wet in Hollywood. And by the time this particular concert in question, the one in Vegas that they kind of highlighted in the film
Yeah.
comes along, he had kind of already had really well established himself and sort of like was kind of at the very peak of his career, hanging out with Rat Pack guys like Sammy Davis,
Hmm.
and spending a lot of time like rubbing elbows with notable people of the era and really making an impression on pretty much everybody that he ever ran into. And um the intimate focus of it was really nice to see, to where you were getting to see how he produced his music and what he thought about it and how he went about um choosing what to play, what to sing, his emotion about it, his intensity, and the just
Hmm.
the whole process of making his music. And also, look, the part that a lot of people don't probably, unless they were like big fans or whatever, the part they might not have gathered was like he was really into other artists' work heavily. You hear a lot of things that we would consider covers of other artists' work in here by him. And
Mm-hmm.
so you get to the feeling that like, oh, he didn't not only just obsess about his own original stuff, he also kind of was obsessed with other artists' work too.
Yeah.
And he really enjoyed doing other songs that weren't necessarily his songs, but doing them in his own way. And that's a really intimate look into his mindset about the entire music industry in and of itself. Um, and he really heavily performed live. I mean, more than almost anybody of his era. I mean, having done 1,100 shows in just North America and never leaving North America for a show anywhere else. That puts him on a mantle in American music history, really among no one else. No one else was as just wall to wall popular with as many top chart hits, as much beloved music, who never ever left the country for a show ever.
Yeah.
You don't have anyone else on that list. You really don't.
It was said in the movie when he was asked if he would ever do any show like in Europe or Germany or wherever. He's like, "Yeah, I would love to," but he never got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, it just kind of never worked out. It never happened. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of was like he had an interest in that broader audience, and he really loved everybody, as many as, all the people of the world. Yeah, he had an affinity for, everybody who would come see him. He was
Mm-hmm.
absolutely open to everybody, but he
Yeah.
just never got the chance to really take it elsewhere. And it could have worked too. I mean, if he went to England, he would have had a crowd. It doesn't matter where he would have went, he would have drawn a
Mm-hmm.
crowd of people. He has
Yeah.
fans in every nation practically, especially,
And,
especially during his time and even now. That's why this particular film, we now actually have box office results, and it's already made money. It had its opening weekend of 14 million, and it didn't even cost that much to make it. It
yeah.
cost about 10 mil to make, but it made 14 in its opening weekend. So it's already a box office success of in Profitsville already on this movie. And it isn't any surprise. I mean, the lingering popularity of him and his music isn't going anywhere. I mean, it's not like, he's not going to rechart, I don't think, by any stretch of the imagination, but it's obviously there. And I've seen reviews from even younger people my age and younger, talking about how they've kind of felt like this particular film was a bit of a rediscovery, a bit of a sort of a maybe even a full-on discovery for many of them
Mm-hmm.
about how actually good he was when it came to performing, like really, really intensely
Yeah.
good, and and just enthralling at times. Honestly, you like to have a guy with that level of stage presence and be in that concert and watch him go is something pretty much nobody who saw him would ever forget. So, um, this is kind of like the whole gist of why this whole thing really works. And concert films are definitely a dime a dozen. There's many of them. It's not something that's a rare format or anything. It's something that a lot of different directors and producers have produced about various artists and stuff. But it just this one kind of like, while it technically targets an older audience just because of Elvis being you know gone since 1977. I mean, it's been a long time since he's been around.
Yeah.
Um, but the impact is still there, and
Yeah.
maybe this would be on paper something that boomer audiences would really get into heavily. But I mean, there's plenty of meat for the young people if they go see this. There's plenty of fodder for enjoyment there. Like,
Oh
even if
yeah.
they've
Absolutely.
never ever ever in their entire life sat down and listened to an Elvis song, they could still go to this and really have an enjoyable time watching this,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
really come to learn just how deep of a person he was, and how much he loved his fans, how much he loved music, and how
Mm-hmm.
much personal, challenges he went through just to even get to where he was
Yeah,
and make the success of himself that he made.
and
And the other thing I do want to
yeah,
say also is that this film was a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be. And I think
oh
that
yeah,
actually is the part that surprised me, was just the level of charisma, like the ability to joke around as much as he did and make you laugh. Like he
yeah,
could have been, like, if he wasn't a singer, he almost could have been a stand-up comedian,
yeah.
with the way he was always kidding around.
When he died, there was a void that was left, but that got filled obviously by Michael Jackson
Yeah, no, I mean,
to a point.
if we're going to compare icons that way, I would definitely say that the people who came of age, my era, my peers would say that Michael was on the par with Elvis in regards to
Yes,
impact. So, like, Elvis didn't have the impact in my generation that any other artist can say they had. But if you're
yeah,
going to come close, you would say Michael Jackson. Yes.
yeah. Because Elvis was mom's generation essentially. Our
Yeah.
generation was Michael Jackson. Then after ours, who was there?
Well, I mean, after that, there would have been like someone like Beyonce or, the like.
But
Now, again,
but honestly, and this is my brutal opinion, so take it for what it's worth, folks.
I love a good roast.
No modern artist in the mainstream can compete with Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson in terms of charisma, star power, and love for their fans.
yeah, an ability to draw a crowd, frankly, honestly.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, especially if you were talking about the mid to late 1960s, like, I think right around maybe 1966 would have been like the absolute total pinnacle where Elvis Presley could draw the same exact crowd as the Beatles could have.
Yeah.
And that's impressive because the Beatles were selling everywhere out, selling everything out. And
Yeah.
he was competing with them in their time. That's
And
not
that-
something very many artists can say.
And that's also, I think, the generations of the peak of like popularity in as far as music artist group, whatever, Beatles. I'm not saying the Beatles were way the fuck up here, but I'm just saying Beatles, then Elvis, then Michael Jackson, then the empty void that they're
Yeah, I
now
mean,
is.
it crowds up pretty thick after that. I mean, it's difficult to say that there anybody who really dominated the era like these artists did.
In my opinion, I think it's, as much as I don't care for the Beatles, Elvis, then Michael Jackson, and then Prince.
Well, I mean, Prince had an era of, especially in the mid '80s, where
Yeah.
he could really do no wrong, and that really didn't fade out until at least the late '90s. So I mean,
But then he also had that killer halftime show at the Super Bowl
sure,
that
and
destroyed
again,
all performances ever.
that really cemented his,
His
the
legend.
proof that he was an amazing artist
Yeah.
was absolutely in stone at that
But
point.
since then, I did do a search on the web browser on my phone, and you know what AI? Do you want to take a guess who AI claims is the modern day Michael Jackson or the modern day Elvis or Beatles or Prince?
And okay, I could take a guess, but I mean,
Yeah.
the only person that has the broad appeal and album sales and musical success in the very recent time is The Weeknd, which is Abel Tesfaye.
That was one of the honorable mention names, but the number one name that AI claims is the face of music today. And I went, fuck that shit, and tossed my phone. Taylor Swift.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, I mean,
I completely disagree.
Well, I mean, look, we can talk about album sales and cultural impact, and obviously there's that. It's
But
we're talking through a biased lens here about our own likes.
true.
And neither
But
me nor you are really Swifties by any stretch, and we're not really fond of her anyway. That's part of
I
why we would say such a thing.
I will openly admit live on YouTube I do have one CD from hers, but that's only because it was exclusively sold at Target and I worked there at the time. So it is what it is.
Obviously, everybody has their favorites, everybody has their tastes, and album sales and popularity speak for themselves sometimes.
But let's look at it through this lens for a minute with Taylor Swift here. And yes, I know we're getting off track of the movie, but just bear with us for a second because this needs to be said. You know how the NFL has had Taylor Swift like all over the fucking place?
Yeah, of course.
Well, let's take Taylor Swift out of that for a second and let's just drop in the NFL throwing Elvis down your throat in every direction. Who would say no to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, the difference here is that when you're talking about Elvis, you're talking about a man from a different era.
Yeah.
First of all, you're talking about a man, so there's a major difference right there.
Yeah.
And second of all, you're talking about from a different era, a different mindset, a different place and time, a different kind of music. There's not that many similarities, and the only real thing you could point to is popularity. That is the thing that Taylor and Elvis have in common. Popularity. She's a very popular artist, and she has been for decades now.
Amongst the brainwashed fools, but yeah.
No, I know. And again, we would say, okay, maybe overrated, probably overrated. Many people who are not phased or, in a trance with Swiftyism are, aware that there's a little bit of overrating going on here.
Yeah.
People get a little too fanatical sometimes. And it would be fanatical as hell to say that Elvis was like the greatest artist of all time either. I mean, he's one of the many legends of music that we can point to and say, there's a great one.
And on the other hand, take Elvis out, and instead of Taylor Swift being shoved down your throat by the NFL, let's slap Michael Jackson in there. Same reaction, I believe, that people would have had to Elvis. Sure, go ahead and slap MJ all over everything NFL. That's fine. Let him moonwalk across the 50-yard line after every halftime.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, and here's the thing. You can have those artists, whoever's the popular one. And again, the reason we're even mentioning that particular controversy is because they literally just jammed an artist nobody even wanted to hear from down our throats.
Yeah.
And everybody just keeps gaslighting everybody in the media just keeps gaslighting. I have never seen a bigger fucking plant put in front of our faces than Bad Bunny. Okay. None of us in the audience, when I say none, I'm talking like less than 10% of the people in the audience even know who the man is. Okay. This is not a man who has had broad appeal in American audiences. This is a man who has had, yes, he's had some hits. Yes, he's produced a lot of music, but his music is a very niche market. It really is. It's a global market. He sells a lot more albums overseas than he does in the United States. And so anyway, that's the type of thing the NFL is on, some really stupid shit lately. And we can just say that they're out to lunch, they're out of touch, they're in their own realm, and they don't know what's what anymore. And the audience is kind of not with them anymore. And I think they're actually panicking about all that and saying to themselves, we got to do this differently in the future because this was bad. But anyway, so aside from any of that business with the NFL and with all that shit.
But a weird thought just crossed my mind with that before we get back to the movie review side of things.
Yeah.
In comparison to, like we did earlier, Beatles, Elvis, MJ, Prince, and whatnot, one name does come to mind who is still with us, and I wonder if you think that he measures up. So, yeah, obviously, with me mentioning his name, I know some people are going to go, really? You think that this guy might measure up to Elvis Presley and Michael Jackson? Yes, Kid Rock.
Well, I I definitely think that the man is better than Bad Bunny, but
Yeah, by far.
in terms
far
of
and away.
broad appeal, obviously Kid Rock is in the niche category with Bad Bunny in his own way. He has an audience, he has fans, yes.
But
But
in compared to who we have today,
yeah, no, it's difficult to
I
it's difficult
fir-
to find anyone today that comes anywhere near Elvis.
yeah, but as opposed to like Beyonce or Taylor Swift or The Weeknd or whoever out there, for me, the closest thing that I think there is today to an Elvis or a Michael Jackson or a Prince or Beatles or whatever, at least at least for my money personally, and maybe professionally here on YouTube as well, the closest one would be Kid Rock, but still, he's still pretty far away, I feel,
But
from a
yeah,
Michael Jackson or an Elvis.
the problem you have with that is that Kid Rock hasn't charted in years and years and years. And he only did chart for a tiny window of time many years ago.
Well, he did
And
We the
so-
People in the last couple of years.
And he's produced a lot of content and he's made a lot of noise and he's got, even memes in some cases. Cultural relevance, yes, of course. But you have to remember that Elvis Presley charted in 3 decades.
Yeah.
And he charted so high that he was number 1 on many occasions.
And also during that time, Michael Jackson was also doing music toward the tail end of Elvis's career too.
Sure, yeah, no, and I mean,
starting out.
Elvis died in 77, and then Michael Jackson showed up in 79, pretty much, as an independent artist.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, so it was a very short period between the death of Elvis and the beginning
really
of
that
Michael's.
independent, because when Michael Jackson hit his heyday, he was with Sony Music.
No, I know, and the other thing I would say is that while Elvis was in his heyday, you had the Jackson 5 were burning it up.
Yeah.
So this is actually kind of a little bit of parallel. And so you probably, in the end, if we could ever, somehow ask Michael Jackson what he thought, he might say that Elvis was an influencer on him or someone he might have looked up to as a performer.
That's entirely possible.
He probably did. I mean, I don't know of any necessary interview quotes I can quote or whatever, but I'm pretty sure he would have not only performed in that same era, but also looked up to Elvis probably in some ways.
However, there is like an Asian artist out there, and I say Asian, and I use that term mostly because I don't really know how else to describe him. Dimash.
Yeah.
Who is turning it up outside of the United States and all over the rest of the world.
Well, I mean, if we wanted to talk about K-pop, there's a whole genre of very successful artists in the K-pop realm right now. Yeah. And we've experienced a Korean invasion, much like the British invasion. We really have, and like say with the members of BTS, they absolutely did a Beatles style invasion, and they are the Beatles of K-pop, and they've had even hits on the American chart multiple times now, and actually very good music targeted to an American audience.
So it's entirely possible that the next Beatles or Michael Jackson or Elvis might be already here. Just I don't know about it yet.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that the K-pop thing is a thing now. It's really a thing. I didn't think it was a thing at first. I felt like it was kind of artificial and forced and whatnot. But given all of the artists that have shown up to the stage and have put up hits on the chart now, I mean, to me, I have to say that K-pop is a thing now, and it's an American thing. Just like when the British invasion happened in the early 60s, people were like, well, we're not going to make British artists a big thing here. And then the Beatles show up and everybody was like, started screaming and charted them all over the place. And then it was all over with a cry. And you had, Stevie Winwood and the boys, in their group. And you had all these different artists in the early to mid 60s that just all piled into the American chart to where you had American artists like Elvis getting almost pushed aside by it. And getting pushed off the chart in many cases by a British artist. And so he kind of had to address it. And in the film, he talks about that. He talks about, having to compete with these British artists and the Beatles in particular, and how he was fond of their music, but he was also understanding that they were apart. They weren't like homegrown like he was. He was from Tupelo, and so
Yeah.
he was
But,
a homeboy to the United States, and they really weren't. And a lot of people in the American music industry and a lot of fans of music at the time were like, I prefer American artists over British. And then there were other people like, I don't care. I just like good music. I don't care who it is, where they're from. There was some very like combative, like cultural stuff going on there. And Elvis was very open arms about it, about other artists at the time.
Yeah.
And that's something that should be, pointed out here.
Yeah, but as usual with the K-pop stuff, we went off on a side street.
Yeah.
Showing once again that usually in the underground,
they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
So with that, back to the movie review.
The one thing I wanted to say also about Elvis, about the movie and about Elvis, is that it really, really shows his gospel side heavily, which I thought was good too, because a very, very, very strong portion of his career and his mindset and his choices in his life were driven by his faith.
Yeah.
And he maintained faith through his entire life. Through thick and thin, rough and easy and fun and hard times. He always kept his faith.
Mm-hmm.
And his faith drove a lot of his music and drove him to choose to sing certain songs and get into certain kinds of music.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he had a heavy gospel element to his music. And that shows in the film heavily also.
Yeah, and the gospel stuff he was singing did turn me up quite a bit when we were watching.
Yeah, no, it's a very emotional thing because it was heartfelt for him.
Yeah.
He wasn't singing it because he thought it was popular. He was singing it because he meant it. And you can always tell when that's the case.
And you could feel that through the movie screen as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could really feel how he's really into it all the time. And that's the one thing we can really say about Elvis is that he's just always into what he's doing. Every time he's up on stage, he's absolutely putting 100%. He's putting more than 100% on that stage. He's moving around like crazy, dancing, laughing with people, cracking jokes, even messing around with his backup singers. I mean, it was just all bunch of craziness.
Me, what was your favorite part of the film?
I absolutely loved the crescendo for me was when he started performing Suspicious Minds. That's absolutely my favorite part. And it's actually one of my favorite his songs from him of all time also. I like the Burn in Love section. Burn in Love was a great big hit for him, and that was a good section too. But the Suspicious Minds section, that was the part I thought was the best part of the whole movie.
Yeah. My favorite part was his reaction when women threw their undergarments on stage and he just put it on their head and just wear it while he's singing.
Yeah, the amount of women too. It's worth noting that just like the way the women would just always throw themselves at him.
Yeah.
Always wanting kisses and just like take me home sort of mentality with all of them.
Yeah.
It's just wild that they would just be that way,
Yeah.
And that was an era when that was like women were way, way, way less lascivious then than they are now. And they still were doing that back then.
Mm-hmm.
And which makes it just absolutely insane to see. These are women who were like shy and meek and quiet, and then they get around him and they just lose themselves.
Yeah. Like his presence was just alcohol straight into their veins, and they throw all ambition just straight out the window.
Yeah, no, it's like he really like legitimately, as the phrase I use is, he used to really have to kick the bitches off of him. You know what I mean? Like really, like if it were him in a room for 1,000 women, he wouldn't have survived. He really wouldn't have.
You're not going to see anything like that today, folks.
I'm just saying, I mean, maybe there are male artists out there that generate that type of thing, but women today are not the same type of women as they were then.
Yeah.
And so it's very strange to see such, ordinarily well-behaved women behaving badly in a sense.
Yeah.
Because nowadays you can expect women to behave badly. They almost always do. But back then they didn't do that.
Yeah.
It was not apropos of them of that era to do those sorts of things. So it was. This is actually also mentioned in the movie how a lot of people, especially in media and critics and whatnot, considered him like a degenerative, moral decaying artist and degenerating the youth in a way. And he even was arrested at one point, which they go over at the beginning of the film. How he was arrested for degenerating the youth and in a certain sense, the female youth, you can kind of see that some of them were really just losing their minds and behaving completely out of character and out of any sanity really towards him. And so that part you can see, but it's still ridiculous to arrest an artist just for like gyrating his hips and kicking his legs and stuff. That's kind of silly shit by comparison today. We don't view any of that shit as serious, but back then it very much was serious.
If someone like Elvis was performing today, he would get me tuned into oblivion.
Well, no, in a certain sense, an artist like him couldn't really survive in today's industry.
Yeah.
Because he would be seen as way too hokey and his sensibilities don't match.
Yeah.
And his,
yeah.
He's an artist for another time, but he's also, left a legacy that can't be ever ignored. And frankly, he deserves to be remembered by generations forever.
Yeah, he has a legacy that can't be ignored, like you said, but also has a legacy that can't be matched.
Yeah, no, it's really
some people can come close. Some people's legacy can live in parallel with Elvis's, like Michael Jackson and or Prince or the Beatles.
Yeah, and so I guess in closing and talking about all this, I would just say that it's worth seeing. Doesn't even matter what age you are. If you're someone who's even younger than I am, below 30, you're in your 20s, whatever, you should still absolutely take a look at this because even as a younger person, if you have any interest in the way music used to be produced, if you have any interest in him, maybe you wonder why your grandparents or your parents loved him. Maybe you've just only heard about him. Maybe you heard a song. Maybe you even heard about him on TikTok or something. Or maybe you just caught a preview of this and you were thinking, that's different. I haven't seen Elvis in a long time. This is definitely worth the ticket price to see. It's a fantastic concert film. It's got to be in the top 10 of concert films I can even think of.
So it sounds like you're already answering the question, which is
I'm kind of just
series.
Yeah, I mean, for me, absolutely. Is it worth it? Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
In my case, I will answer it like this for all of you watching and for those that will watch later. And if you guys have seen it, let us know in the comments down below what you thought of it too. But as far as I'm concerned, if you don't know who Elvis is, go and watch this thing. It's absolutely worth it for you. If you are old enough to have seen Elvis in concert or on TV as a little kid, go and see this. It's worth it for you. And if you're like me and you went around to watch Elvis on TV or see him live in concert or any of that stuff, like you, Nord, right?
Yeah. Even if he was dead before you were born, this is still very much worth it.
Yeah, but you and I are still very much aware of his music and aware of how talented he was because we grew up listening to his music in our family's household, though.
Sure, I would think any American who hasn't heard of him should pass their American card forward.
So you and I, because of Mom and Dad, are already well acquainted with Elvis's star power. Let's put it that way.
Mom was always a huge fan of Elvis, and I suppose thanks to her, I heard all of his music. Growing up.
We both did. So we grew up with an appreciation for Elvis, nevertheless. So for people like us, it's absolutely worth it. If you grew up with Elvis, it's worth it for you. If you have no fucking clue who the hell Elvis is, I feel sorry for you, but it's worth it for you too.
Yeah, get to know him because you'll love the dude. You'll freaking love the dude.
Because I knew Elvis was a great artist, great entertainer. But after seeing this movie, I now appreciate him even more than I did before I go to see it because I didn't know his stance on not talking about politics, and him just basically saying, I'm an entertainer, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And I can't speak on if any other entertainer out there should talk about politics. That's not my place. It's none of my business. What they do, blah, blah, blah.
He delved into social justice songs occasionally in a couple of places, but it only in order to draw a broader audience than he was already drawing. That was the point for him.
That was the only reason. He wasn't trying to shove it down anyone's throat like the woke assholes today. He was just trying to appeal to as many people as possible so he could draw in more fans, so he could go, I love you guys. Let me give all of you a hug. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was for the sake of drawing a broader crowd than he was already drawing.
He was already drawing everybody. Who's left?
Yeah, no, I mean, the younger people at the time, especially in the late 60s, were very much into their, hippie messaging. And so he included some of that, especially racial unity stuff in there during the civil rights movement in order to say, hey, I'm not your enemy. I'm your friend. I may be an artist from another era, an artist from before this particular era. I might not be a young person anymore, but I still want you to come and enjoy my music.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he did those songs.
Yeah.
That's why he did that.
But there were still good songs in there, nevertheless.
Oh, sure.
Anyway.
And then, of course, how could you really disagree with the message anyway? Because most of it is, again, just racial unity type stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like, if you want an actual anti-racist, look at Elvis. People would say, oh, he was racist. And I'm like, there's no evidence, no valid evidence for that at all anyway.
And in that note, there were then parallels between those songs from Elvis and some from Michael Jackson later on.
Well, sure. Yeah, no, this is actually part of why I would say I think he was influenced, because this is kind of like the model that ended up working really, really well for Michael Jackson.
As well,
so, I mean, Elvis, especially in this late 60s, early 70s, he was really trying to push, a traditional white American audience towards racial unity in that time when a lot of them would be more resistant to it. Yeah. And then Michael Jackson came in right behind and came at it from the black community side of it, saying, hey, black community, we need to be in unity with the white community.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had both, they're kind of like almost two halves of the same coin in this sense. Like where you had Elvis talking to the white community saying, hey, let's get into racial unity with the black community. And then Michael come along and say to the black community, hey, let's get in unity with the white community. And then you had together, they sort of like Wonder Twin powers were a very unifying force for racial unity in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Michael Jackson was incredibly popular with white people. And Elvis was incredibly popular with black people.
Yeah.
And so you had this overlap there that's kind of hard to ignore, really, if you look at the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway,
but speaking of Michael Jackson, the next film that we intend on seeing is the one about Michael Jackson coming out soon.
Yeah, I mean, it probably won't be the next one I see, but it might be the next one we see as a family or whatever.
Together, yeah.
And I think it's going to be, that one's going to be a little bit different. Obviously, that isn't in the same vein as this one. That's actually more in the Bohemian Rhapsody vein, the sort of like biopic.
Because with this one of Elvis, it was narrated by him.
Yeah.
He talked about how he felt when he did the things that we were seeing, and it was him performing all of the songs in it from the Las Vegas shows.
Yeah, and the only part that was actually Baz Luhrmann, who was the producer, the only part of Baz in there was at the end, the poem was from Baz, and it was in Baz's voice. But that's it. The whole movie, the whole flick is Elvis talking.
Yeah. Now, in the case of Michael Jackson, it's going to be someone impersonating him.
Yeah.
Blah.
It's Jafar Jackson is going to be playing Michael.
Yeah.
As because he's a family member and he looks like him too. So,
but that doesn't mean that I'm not hyped and interested, because, as we said at the top of this, Elvis was our mom's generation's top star. Michael Jackson was ours.
Yeah. No, I mean, despite all the controversy and all the crap that went on, and the fact that, I mean, frankly, the other thing that these two men
which was lies with the controversy.
The
about
other
Michael.
thing these two men have in common is that their deaths are tragic.
Yeah,
Both men died tragically.
yeah,
Truly.
they did.
At a younger age than they really should have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's the common vein. It's like you can almost, if you really want to look at the 20th century music as a package, you kind of have to look at Elvis and Michael Jackson as both halves of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it, and there's so much to be said there. And obviously, we'll say more of it if we do a review of that movie when it comes out.
So kind of like in an NFL comparison, going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers type of thing, right?
Well, I mean, if we think about like, if we're gonna use an NFL reference, I mean, it'd be like it's like John Elway and Joe Montana. You know?
Yeah, except for the Brett Favre Aaron Rodgers thing makes more sense because Aaron Rodgers was on the roster with the Packers when Favre was still at his peak.
I just mean that two legendary, successful, beloved, headliners of their realm.
Yeah,
who you could say had so much overlap and so many things in common, and so much to say in the same breath as each other that you could really barely talk about one without mentioning the other. That's the kind of thing we're talking about here.
To the point where one was called the King of Rock.
Yeah, the King of Rock and Roll was Elvis.
Yeah, and the King of Pop was Michael.
That moniker led people to later use the King of Pop for Michael. That's literally why and where that came from.
But I dare to lump them together as the kings of music.
Well, no, I mean, they are the two greatest figureheads of 20th century American music.
Absolutely.
And again, if you want to talk about, all music from the entire world in every country or whatever, yeah, obviously the British really throws a monkey wrench in the whole conversation because, you had acts like Elton John who, spent basically 50 years charting, and you had the Beatles who, as long as they were together, were absolutely going to dominate the chart every ounce of their lives. There's even actually a Paul McCartney film on Netflix right now called Man on the Run, which I recommend people watch that too, because that actually goes over Paul McCartney after he left the Beatles, what he was doing with Wings and such in the 1970s after he left the Beatles. And that's a good one too. So I recommend that while I'm at it. Might as well while I'm at it here.
Well, I'm never going to give money enough.
No, I know. I don't like Netflix. I'm just talking about the film itself.
Yeah, if you can find a way to watch the film itself without subscribing to Netflix.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about piracy, and I'm not talking about pirating anything here, because...
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
Yeah. Yeah, we don't advocate any law breaking.
Yeah, exactly. But on that note,
but yeah,
I'm looking forward to the Michael Jackson thing coming up. And as we said, is Epic the Elvis Presley concert experience worth going to see or buying a DVD or whatever if it comes out on Blu-ray or whatever? Yes, and yes.
Yeah, it's worth owning a copy. It's worth seeing. Absolutely,
everybody.
It's kind of like it's a rave review situation from us, or from me at least.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm hoping and kind of expecting the same thing out of the Michael Jackson one in April, because that's when that is, right?
Yeah, at the end of April.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll go see that, and then we'll do an Is It Worth It for that? So that'll be the next one of these on here.
Probably right around the beginning of May, I guess, would probably end up being the review for us, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
But other than that, the next time you will see us will be tomorrow for Breaking Rocks, right here on this channel, at about the same time tomorrow, because there's a lot to cover.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be talking about the whole Iran situation primarily.
And some more Xbox news. And also, at the end of that, we'll be checking in with Matt Morse TV on Rumble to see what he's doing with his coverage of the Iran, Israel, United States
war, for lack of a better word, yeah.
And pretty much the entire world, seemingly at this point, situation.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow at about this time. Hence why the name of that episode of Breaking Rocks, number 80 tomorrow, is Trouble Loves Company.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into a lot. Well, we're hopefully not going to get into trouble tomorrow.
Yeah, it's quite a geopolitical mess, and it's probably going to be a longer stream than this one.
Yeah, especially since at the end of it, we're just going to spend like the last as long as we're talking about what's going on in the Middle East, we're going to have Matt Morris up on the screen and listening to him and talking about what we got to talk about while we're hearing from, arguably, at least in my opinion, the most trusted name in actual news, Matt Morris TV.
Yeah.
So with that said, if you guys aren't subscribed to Matt Morris TV on YouTube and also following him on Rumble, please go do so right now. Go. The hell with us. So with that being said, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Be safe, be well, God bless. Go watch Epic if you haven't already. If you have, as I said, let us know what you thought in the comments down below. If you have, I'm sure Mom will be in the comments somewhere.
Yeah.
But with that being said, bye everybody. Be safe, God bless, and hail to the King.
Yep. See you guys.
Hopefully this is the right one.
I will never say I'm sorry, I ain't taking nothing back. I don't care if I offend you.